You lie awake, heart aching for a man who pulls you close one moment, then vanishes like smoke the next, wondering why this emptiness feels so strangely like home. It's not weakness drawing you in. It's something hidden, whispering that this is love. Ignore it, and you'll chase shadows forever. But what if facing it sets you free? That quiet ache isn't just heartache. It's a signal from deeper within, a pull toward the parts of yourself you've long ignored. You've felt it before, haven't you? In the silence, after a half-hearted text, or the way his indifference stirs a familiar loneliness. This isn't about him. It's about the unspoken story your soul is trying to tell. Carl Jung's shadow lurks here, those disowned fragments of your psyche that draw you to what feels painfully right. Imagine the weight of it all, the nights spent replaying conversations, searching for signs of commitment that never fully arrive. It's exhausting, yet you return drawn by an invisible thread. Why? Because this pattern isn't new. It's woven from early threads of love that taught you to settle for glimpses. Feel the subtle echo of those childhood moments where affection came in unpredictable waves, leaving you hungry for more, yet afraid to demand it. It's like standing at the edge of a vast ocean, waves lapping at your feet, tempting, but never quite enveloping you in safety. Pause for a breath. Let's step into that quiet pull. Take a moment here. Breathe into that ache. What does it whisper to you? Perhaps it's the name of a feeling you've buried, or a memory that surfaces like a dream fragment. Allow it to rise without judgment. This is where the journey begins, in the raw honesty of your inner world. Imagine you're at a crowded cafe, eyes locking with him across the room. He's charming, distant, that elusive spark lighting something deep inside. It's familiar, this rush mixed with a subtle sting, like the father who praised you rarely, or the ex who promised everything but gave fragments. You feel seen, yet somehow invisible. This isn't random. It's your inner world projecting outward, calling you to notice what's unresolved. Picture the steam rising from your coffee cup, blurring the edges of reality as that initial glance hooks into a deeper vulnerability, one you've carried like a hidden scar. Why does his unavailability feel magnetic? Because it echoes wounds you haven't named, pulling you toward men who mirror what you crave but can't grasp. Think of it as a quiet echo from childhood, where love was conditional, doled out in measured doses. You learned to chase to prove your worth, and now in adulthood, that pattern replays in the men who keep you at arm's length. It's not masochism. It's the psyche's way of highlighting unfinished business. Add to that the cultural whispers movies, romanticizing the brooding hero society, praising women who endure, quietly reinforcing this pull until it feels inevitable. Feel that subtle thrill mixed with dread. It's the doorway to understanding. Why does the uncertainty excite you? Perhaps because stability feels foreign, like a language you never fully learned. In these moments, the Carl Jung shadow begins to stir, revealing how past pains shape present choices. You've sensed it in small ways, the way your heart quickens at his sporadic attention, or how you rationalize the gaps in his presence. It's like a faint melody from a distant room drawing you closer, even as it fades. Picture Lila, a 35-year-old editor in Seattle, sipping coffee alone after yet another canceled date. That initial spark with him felt electric, but soon the sting surfaced, echoing her mother's intermittent affection. It wasn't love at first sight. It was recognition of the familiar void. Lila remembered family dinners where praise was sparse, teaching her to perform for scraps of warmth. Now, in her quiet apartment surrounded by unread books and half-finished manuscripts, she sees how that void invites men who offer just enough to keep her hooked, but never enough to heal. If this resonates, Pause the video, journal one word that describes that pull. Let it be simple, unfiltered, a seed for deeper reflection. Let that sink in. Now feel the split emerging within. As we move forward, carry that word with you, like a talisman against the familiar illusions. You tell yourself it's just chemistry, but deep down, a quiet war rages. On one side, the part of you that shines in the world, polished, accommodating the good girl who adapts to keep peace. She craves stability, a love that's steady and safe. Yet lurking beneath is something wilder, unspoken, the parts you've buried to survive. The anger you swallow, the needs you silence, the raw hunger for depth that society calls too much. It's like living in a beautifully decorated house with locked rooms you never enter, fearing what might spill out if you turn the key. This tension, it's the divide between who you show and who you truly are. Carl Jung's shadow speaks to this, the hidden aspects of your psyche, those disowned pieces that emerge in the men you choose. You fall for the aloof one because he embodies what you've rejected in yourself, independence perhaps, or the freedom to withhold without guilt. It's not him you're loving. It's the projection of your own unmet masculine energy, what Jung called the animus, the inner guide that's distorted by past hurts. In the quiet hours, this split manifests as restlessness, a sense that something essential is missing, even in moments of apparent connection. Picture a bridge over a foggy river. On one bank, your persona stands smiling through exhaustion, burned out from always giving. Across the mist, your shadow calls fierce and unapologetic, urging you to claim what's yours. But crossing feels terrifying. What if embracing that darkness unravels everything? Women in this cycle often grew up. Learning love means earning it, so they seek partners who recreate that chase. It's familiar pain disguised as passion. Layer in the modern pressures, endless scrolling through curated lives, the burnout from juggling careers and emotions, all while suppressing the unacceptable parts to appear composed. Every 90 seconds or so, that ache intensifies. Why stay when it hurts? Because the shadow thrives in the unspoken, feeding on suppression. Pause here. Feel the tug. Is it really love, or a soul crying for integration? Let that question linger like a breath held too long, building the tension before release. Think of Elena, a 32-year-old teacher from Chicago, always the empathetic one in her circle. She fell hard for Mark, a musician who toured endlessly, leaving her waiting. He's passionate, she'd say, but nights alone revealed the truth. His distance mirrored her own fear of demanding more. Carl Jung's shadow work illuminates this, the unintegrated parts project onto others, turning relationships into mirrors of inner conflict. Elena's story isn't unique. It's the quiet epidemic among women who've learned to dim their light to fit in. She journaled late one night, listing the ways she'd silenced her voice, not just with Mark, but in friendships at work. The split became clear. Her polished exterior hid a raging storm of unmet desires. As she delved deeper, she uncovered memories of a childhood where expressing anger meant rejection. So she buried it, only for it to surface in her choice of distant partners. Elena's friends noticed the change first, a subtle fire in her eyes when she shared her truths, no longer apologizing for her needs. It started with one conversation confronting a colleague about overlooked contributions and rippled into her personal life. Yet here's the gentle shift, recognizing this split isn't judgment, it's compassion. Your persona protected you once, but now it confines. The shadow isn't enemy, it's ally waiting to be welcomed. Through individuation, Jung's path to wholeness, you begin weaving these halves together. No rush, just awareness. Start small. Notice when you swallow your truth and whisper it back to yourself. Imagine it as mending a torn fabric stitch by stitch until the pattern reveals a stronger whole. But wait, doesn't this mean you're doomed to repeat? Not if you listen deeper. The emotional confession I've been there chasing echoes only to find the real void was within me. It's a shared human whisper connecting us in our solitude. Like a tree split by lightning, one side scorched, the other thriving, yet roots connect them. Your psyche is that tree seeking unity, drawing nourishment from both light and dark. You give endlessly, but when do you receive? Let that question pierce, revealing the imbalance you've normalized. You call it strength, staying through the cold, but maybe it's the way you abandon yourself. Feel the dissonance. It's the spark for change. Every time you stay, you teach them and yourself that you're fine being unseen. Feel that truth settle in. It's the crack where light enters. But what if being seen starts with seeing yourself fully? As we spiral inward, feel the fragments stirring. What if this pain is your invitation to mend? The pull intensifies here, drawing you deeper into the mirror. Breathe with me if this stirs something. Note it down. What's one split you sense? Add a detail. Where does it show up in your daily life, like a shadow following your steps? And then it hits like dawn, cracking through a long night. You're not loving him. You're loving the ghost of what he represents. The man who can't commit becomes a canvas for your deepest longings, painted with hopes he never promised. Carl Jung's shadow reveals this cruel trick, the unconscious parts we deny flung outward onto others, masquerading as destiny. It's a moment of stark clarity where the veil thins and you see the threads connecting past to present in intricate, painful patterns. Feel it first, that hollow thrill when he texts after days of silence, the way your heart races not from joy, but from the echo of old abandonment. It's not attraction, it's recognition. Your animus, that inner masculine archetype Jung described, distorted by wounds, seeks completion in him. He symbolizes the father who was absent, the approval never given, the strength you feel lacking in yourself. Women pour love into these men, mistaking the wound's familiarity for soul connection. But true love, it doesn't thrive on lack. Instead, it grows from the fertile ground of self-acceptance, where projections dissolve like mist in sunlight. Here's the piercing insight: you chase his potential because it shields you from facing your own. He could be so much, you think, but really it's you whispering, I could be whole. Carl Jung's shadow work demands we confront this, make the unconscious conscious, or it steers our choices like fate. This revelation cascades layer by layer, peeling back the illusions built over years of quiet compromise. Meet Sophia, a 28-year-old artist in New York, tangled with Alex, a brilliant but emotionally shut-down entrepreneur. She saw in him the creativity she stifled in her corporate job, the boldness she admired but feared. Nights blurred into arguments where his detachment triggered her tears, not because he was cruel, but because he mirrored her self-neglect. Why can't you open up? She'd plead, unaware she was asking herself the same. One rainy evening, scrolling old journals, she unearthed entries from childhood, a distant dad praises tied to perfection. The revelation cascaded: Alex wasn't the love. He was the projection of her unclaimed power. Sophia's breakthrough came in waves. First denial, then anger at the pattern, finally a quiet acceptance. She realized how performance culture had conditioned her to seek validation, externally amplifying the Carl Jung shadow's grip. In therapy sessions that followed, she explored how suppressing her assertiveness led to attracting men who embodied it poorly, creating a cycle of frustration. Sophia began sketching her emotions, raw, unfiltered portraits of her inner split that evolved into a series exhibited in a small gallery, symbolizing her reclaiming of that projected creativity. Pause. Does this echo your story? The confession. It's terrifying to admit, but liberating too, like shedding a skin that's grown too tight, revealing the tender, vibrant self beneath. Imagine a locked chest in your attic, vibrating with forgotten treasures. Opening it unleashes shadows, but also gold, your true self. The key, curiosity over fear. But here's the haunting question. What if the men who can't love you are the perfect teachers, forcing you to love yourself instead? Contradiction creeps in. You believed love conquers all. But what if it's the absence that awakens you? This twist re-anchors you, challenging the narrative you've clung to. Jung warned, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Your shadow isn't villain. It's the unmet child, the suppressed rage, the desires deemed unworthy. In relationships, it projects, turning partners into hooks for healing. Expand this. Consider how generational patterns play in mothers who modeled endurance, grandmothers who silenced needs, passing the Carl Jung shadow like an heirloom until you choose to polish it into wisdom. Women in performance culture, always achieving, often attract these men because they reflect the inner split, the drive to fix others while ignoring self. This cycle isn't punishment. It's the psyche's call to individuate, to reclaim what's projected. Add to that the societal pressure we're told to be empathetic healers, but at what cost? It buries the shadow deeper, making the reveal all the more shattering. Consider how media glorifies the chase, reinforcing the pattern until the Carl Jung shadow demands attention. But here's the unexpected reveal. In embracing it, you transform not just relationships, but your entire way of being in the world. Journal this. What quality do you adore in him that you deny in yourself? How does claiming it feel in your body, like a warmth spreading? You think leaving him will hurt most, but staying buries you deeper. Feel the unresolved pull. It's the tension that propels growth. What if true intimacy begins only when projections shatter? Let that hang a question mark in the air. As awareness blooms, feel the fragments realigning. This reveal isn't end. It's doorway to a richer inner landscape. If this lands heavy, take a breath. What's one projection you're ready to question? Allow the answer to emerge softly, without force. Now the air shifts. That ache, once a chain, becomes a key. You've glimpsed the shadow. Now turn toward it with gentle eyes. Carl Jung's shadow integration isn't about banishing darkness, but dancing with it, letting pain guide you home. It's a subtle pivot, where resistance softens into curiosity and the familiar hurt begins to reveal its hidden gifts. Recall Sophia from before. After that journal night, she sat in silence, heart pounding. Instead of texting Alex, she whispered to herself, "What do I need?" The answer: space to create, not chase. She ended things not in anger, but clarity, realizing his unavailability was her cue to claim her own boundaries. Weeks later, alone in her studio, colors flowed freer. The man who couldn't love became the catalyst for self-love. But it wasn't instant. Sophia slipped back into doubt, scrolling his socials late at night. The real turning came through small rituals, morning walks where she dialogued with her inner animus, asking what strength she could embody herself. She started saying no at work, voicing needs in friendships, watching the split mend slowly. One pivotal evening, she declined a half-hearted invitation from an old flame, feeling the empowerment ripple through her, like reclaiming a piece of her soul she'd loaned out too long. This is the portal, pain as invitation. When you stop filling his voids, you fill your own. Reframe the wound. It's not flaw, but wisdom in disguise. Through the transcendent function, Jung's bridge between conscious and unconscious opposites unite. Your persona softens, shadow strengthens, wholeness emerges. Imagine it as alchemy turning leaden hurts into golden insights. I've chased shadows too, only to find light within. It's a vulnerable admission, but one that connects us in our shared humanity. Every ignored need is a whisper from your soul. Listen closely. It holds the map to freedom. The unexpected turn. What if loving the wrong man was the right path all along, leading you here? The very traits that drew you his independence now become yours, to own transforming dependency into empowerment. This revelation builds to an emotional peak, justifying the journey thus far. Its messy tears included, but each step lightens. Slips happen, old patterns tug, but awareness changes everything. Anticipate the resistance, that voice saying, "But he's different this time." Meet it with compassion, not force. Begin with one act of self-claim each day, like setting a boundary or pursuing a forgotten passion. Try an evening ritual, lighting a candle and listing 3 ways you showed up for yourself, anchoring the shift in daily practice. Like a river carving stone, your journey reshapes you, slowly revealing hidden beauty beneath the surface erosion. That unlovable man, thank him silently. He mirrored what you must integrate. This gratitude isn't forced, it's a quiet acknowledgement of the lesson's value. As we spiral deeper, feel the return calling. The energy builds here, a gentle momentum toward wholeness. Pause and reflect. What's one small step toward turning inward? Make it tangible, a walk alone, a note to self. Something that honors your emerging strength. Gently now come back to yourself, like slipping into warm waters after a storm. This isn't fixing, it's remembering. Carl Jung's shadow teaches that wholeness was always there beneath the projections and pains. You've confronted the split, embraced the reveal. Now rest in the safety of your own depths. It's a homecoming where the fragments reassemble into a mosaic more beautiful for its cracks. True love blooms from this inner soil, not lack, but abundance. When you integrate the animus, that masculine essence becomes ally, not phantom. No more chasing men who echo wounds. Instead, you attract from fullness. Imagine mornings where you wake not scanning for his message, but feeling your own steady pulse, strong, independent whole. Picture the sunlight filtering through your window, warming your skin as you savor a quiet ritual like brewing tea, mindfully affirming your presence in the moment. Give yourself the recognition once sought outside. Whisper affirmations, not as rote, but soul truth. I am worthy whole. Practice this in quiet moments, letting the words sink like roots into fertile ground. Extend it outward. Notice when you receive and allow it without guilt. This practice builds resilience, turning vulnerability into quiet power. Feel the peace settling like fog lifting at dawn, revealing a landscape transformed. Sophia, post-turning, found joy in solitude, then connections that mirrored her growth, not her gaps. She dated again, but from a place of curiosity, not need. One evening, sharing coffee with a new friend, she noticed the difference. No projections, just presence. It wasn't perfect. Doubts crept in during quiet nights, but she met them with the tools of integration, turning inward rather than outward. Sophia expanded her art hosting workshops, where women shared their own shadow stories, creating a ripple of collective healing that echoed her personal return. Individuation unfolds here, the quiet journey to self, where shadow and light entwine. It's ongoing, a spiral, not a line. Embrace the cycles. Each return deepens. Remember, the Carl Jung shadow isn't a one-time foe. It's a lifelong companion guiding growth through every layer uncovered. What part of you longs to return? Explore it softly. Is it creativity, anger, or simply rest? Let the answer guide your next breath. You thought love meant sacrifice. Now see it as mutual overflow. This reframing eases the old tensions, inviting ease. Retention watch point. Compress the essence, every shadow integrated, frees space for authentic bonds. Hold this truth. It's the emotional high point, extended, allowing the payoff to resonate fully. As awakening nears, carry this warmth. Let it wrap around you like a familiar embrace. If moved, share in comments what shadow have you reclaimed. Like and subscribe for more Carl Jung Shadow Journeys. Your stories fuel this shared path. In this spiral's end, hear the whisper the men who couldn't love were mirrors reflecting your Carl Jung shadow back to you. Stop chasing. Embrace wholeness. As Jung said, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Come home to yourself. True love awaits within. It's a soulful invitation, not a command. Step into it at your own pace. The moment you stop seeking from emptiness is when fullness finds you. Tie back to that initial ache. It's not home anymore. It's the path you outgrew. Carl Jung's shadow isn't to fear, but to befriend, guiding you to the love you deserve, starting with self. Reflect on how far you've spiraled inward from dissonance to this quiet awakening. If this journey resonated, reflect on one insight today. What's rising for you now? Let it guide your next quiet moment. Perhaps journal it under moonlight, or share it with a trusted soul, whatever feels like a gentle unfolding.